Okay, so that is it for the conjunctions. We also have, though, two other very important, very rare events happening this month that we need to touch on, because they're playing into the bigger story that is going on. So if we go back to the 19th, this is one day after Mercury conjunct Mars and the new moon in Capricorn, and it is the same day as Venus is conjunct Pluto. We have the Saturn in Pisces making an exact sextile to Uranus in Taurus. Last month we talked about Neptune's exact trine or sextile to Uranus in Taurus and talked about how rare that is. This is also rare. This has happened only 12 times from 500 BC to 2500 AD. 12 times. That's it. So the 12 times it happened only happened in a couple different time periods. 152 BC, and then 347, 847, 937, 1436, 1935, and then now. So if you'll notice from what we talked about with Neptune sextile Uranus last month, that exact sextile, that only happened twice, in 530 something BC, and then, or maybe it was AD, and then like 1853. So you can see that the timelines don't match up. So the fact that these two sextiles are happening at the same time is like a once in our history thing going on. That's why this is so significant, and it's not something small. It's not it's not replicating a cycle like we've ever seen before. So we can look to what was going on with these two sextiles to kind of get a better idea of what we might be able to expect, what we might be looking at on a collective level, the collective shift that is going on these longer cycles. But we don't know exactly because these haven't ever met up before in the same year. So this is really fascinating. We truly are moving through historical times, and we chose to be here at this time to set the setting, to build the foundation for what our future generations are going to be. Heavy is the crown, right? But we chose to be here at this time because we knew we could handle it, and we knew that we could set things up better than they have been, and course correct where things have gone so terribly wrong. So overall, looking at what this energy is about, right? Saturn is structure, law, time, responsibility, and continuity. Pisces dissolves borders, emphasizes spirit, compassion, myth, sacrifice, and collective meaning, while Uranus is disruption, awakening, invention, liberation, and Taurus governs land, food, money, resources, value systems, and what sustains life material. So if you put that energy together, it's old spiritual and moral frameworks gently cooperate with radical change to material reality. So this is where old stories are, Saturn in Pisces says old stories are no longer literal, but they still matter. Institutions that are based on belief must soften or spiritualize in order to survive, and authority shifts from external law to internal conscience. And then Uranus in Taurus says the way we survive materially must change. Currency, land ownership, food systems, labor, and value itself must evolve. Comfort zones are not sustainable anymore, and we can all feel all these shifts. So then the sextile means that change happens through adaptation, not rebellion. Sacred meaning finds new forms instead of being discarded, and innovation respects continuity even as it rewires it. This is an aspect of reforming belief systems without destroying them, updating economies without total collapse, letting ancient wisdom inform new technologies, and making the invisible practical. So if we kind of go through the history, 152 BCE, This is when there were cracks in the ancient world's foundations. This is the late Hellenistic area when Greek philosophy, mystery religions, and local traditions were cross-pollinating under expanding empires. Old civic religions no longer satisfied lived reality. Philosophy turned inward. Stoicism and Epicureanism spread. Empires consolidated power while local traditions dissolved. So the theme of this time was the sacred detaches from geography, meaning became portable, power centralized material things, but spirituality became internal. And then 347 was kind of when Christianity became structure. This is the post-Constantine Roman world. Christianity shift from persecuted movement to institutional authority. Pagan temples closed, monasteries rose. Spirituality became codified into law and hierarchy. Faith became systematized. Land and wealth were redirected into church structures. The theme was spirit got rules, rules got land, and the invisible became institutional. Then we have 847. Early medieval Europe is reorganizing after fragmentation. So monasteries were preserving knowledge, agriculture, and literacy, but feudal land systems crystallize. Religious authority stabilizes chaotic material conditions. Spiritual devotion structured daily life. Time is sacred. Labor becomes prayer. Agricultural innovation slowly changed survival, and land becomes the unit of power. So this theme was spiritual discipline anchors economic survival. Then in 937, this is the Islamic Golden Age, expansion and European consolidation. So mathematics, medicine, and astronomy flourished. Trade routes connected belief system. Knowledge moves across borders. Faith traditions deepen mystical branches. There's sacred science. Commerce, currency, and craft evolve. Practical innovation supports spiritual scholarship. So material innovation started to serve spiritual inquiry. So kind of a shift in power a little bit. 1436, the Renaissance threshold. This was just before the Gutenberg's press changes everything. So sacred authority is questioned but not rejected. Art, humanism, and science re-spiritualize the material world. Wealth shifts towards merchants and patrons. So again, more of the power being brought back to the people. Religious symbolism floods in the arts. God becomes experiential, not just institutional. Banking, trade, and tools evolve rapidly, and value systems shift from feudal to mercantile, so power to the people. Spirit descends into matter through beauty, craft, and innovation. 1935, the modern welfare state and collective area. So again, this is power moving back to the institutions. So governments were restructuring economy, social safety nets were emerging, collective trauma reshapes values, compassion becomes policy, suffering is acknowledged at scale, industrial systems are reorganized, labor, money, and production modernize. Compassion is engineered into material systems, or you could say, what a common saying is today is compassion is being weaponized. So now what is happening, this is the same pattern, but global and digital. So our spiritual narratives are hopefully shedding victimhood and martyrdom. Old belief systems are dissolving without disappearing. Money, food, land, work, and energy systems are being reinvented, and technology is meeting ethics at a fork in the road, which we can see with AI. So collective healing is becoming necessary. Boundaries, Saturn and Neptune, that's all the work we've been doing, is boundaries around empathy, sacrifice, and responsibility are being redefined. Faith is becoming lived, not preached. So turning faith back to us instead of institutions, living our faith in our sovereignhood, having a straight divine connection rather than having to go through anybody for our faith. And then currency, ownership, food, labor, and resources are destabilizing, and then we are going to innovate to recalibrate, and value is being remeasured. So we are translating ancient compassion into future-proof systems. We are really at this pivotal moment because everything is happening so much at the same time, and for the first time ever. It's not like any time, like cycles are not going to keep repeating. Like the cycle of this sextile has been this bouncing back and forth between the power and spirituality and everything being controlled by institutions, being more people oriented, the everyday people, to having a direct connection with your spirituality, to things like that. And because everything is so new, this isn't patterns that are going to keep living. When we finally determine and finally learn who we are and that we can have this direct connection and we don't have to go through organized religion, no matter what religion that is, we don't have to go through the organized religions. We can have this direct connection. Everything is going to change, right? Like, I think we are about to see some uncovering of ancient traditions, of ancient texts that kind of reshape what institutions have kind of boiled down for control. We're going to learn things that were silenced and taken out. And that's just how I'm reading all of it. And it could be hopeful, but just the fact that all of this is happening and there's this divine mini grand trine supporting us through 2029 while we build these new structures, I really think that what is changing now and that we are being a part of is breaking cycles, breaking control structures that have been controlling us for centuries, not just decades, but for thousands of years. We are resetting the system. That's how big I feel this month and this year is. So then we have Neptune entering Aries on the 26th. So we can see that right here. And this is a huge one. So this happens only every 165 years. So this is starting a 165-year cycle. And Neptune in Aries is always a cycle of spiritual individuation, visionary activism, battles of ideology, rebirths of religious identity, and a rise of new mythologies. It is the individuation of spirit, return of mystical knowledge, collective spiritual awakening, collapse of old systems, re-sacralization of science through energy and consciousness, tech merging with the soul. That's what it is during this cycle. Belief systems dissolving, an end of institutional religion, rise of embodied experiential spirituality. So I am going to be doing a separate video on this, going through the old, like the astrology chart of this particular ingress, as well as going through a handful of select Neptune entering Aries charts of the past, and showing why this one has a much different feel. So this is the cycle that is, this particular one that we're in is one that is Christic, but not necessarily Christian. It's mystical, but not religious. It's healing, but not hierarchical. The mysteries are going to come back to the people after 2,000 years of suppression. So, like I said, every Neptune and Aries births a new spiritual identity for humanity. And this one is different for 3 reasons. It's the first since the innovation of global communication. It occurs alongside Pluto and Aquarius, which none of the other ones have. And it starts with a massive Aquarius stellium, which is the collective, right? So this is the, and this wording I'm getting from ChatGPT, which I don't always love using, but this is saying this is the cosmic announcement of the age of spiritual authority is over. The age of spiritual sovereignty begins. It says Jesus initiated a 2,000-year cycle of awakening. This ingress begins the cycle of embodiment. So that is really exciting, and to me kind of signifies this the rebirth, right? The second coming of Christ. I think some of the ancient texts that were hidden from the Bible, kept out of the Bible, that really perhaps change our understanding of Jesus and what he was really teaching. I think those might be coming to the surface, perhaps. But regardless, we are leaving top-down religion, hierarchical priesthoods, dogma, institutions, passive faith, and entering direct revelation, self-healing, mystical intelligence, intuition as truth, spiritual community, embodied divinity, and collective ascension. This is the rebirth of the mysteries, basically. But like I said, I'm going to be doing a deeper dive into this particular chart, and what all is going on here, what all it means, especially as how it compares. But from all the conversations that I've had, diving in deeper into the history and things like that, and talking with ChatGPT, because it is easier than Google, as much as I hate to use it. This really is, again, we aren't repeating cycles. This is the start of, I guess you could say, the golden age or whatever. Like, we're not here to repeat patterns. We're here to start to embody what Jesus was trying to teach us, and what through other ancient traditions who've had, stories similar to Jesus and their traditions, what those were trying to teach us. Like, we are breaking the cycle of having to repeat this pattern, and are really moving forward into areas where our humanity has never seen before. I really truly believe that. You may think I'm crazy, but again, if you agree with it, please stay and like and comment and subscribe and all of those things. But that is just how I am reading this energy. And then just to point really quick to, since the main energy is this divine mini grind triangle, and we are really working on learning to embody these things, I just want to look a little bit to the rulership, because it is important. So, Saturn and Neptune have really been in Pisces for forever, and we are not forever, but we've been letting things go. Jupiter rules Pisces. So, and Jupiter is here in Cancer, as I've talked about, bringing forth ancient wisdom, with the internal, we've been doing a lot of internal work on tapping into our intuition, feeling what's right, feeling what feels right in our bodies, in our homes, in our emotional safety net, but reconnecting to that wisdom and to our nurturing energy, reconnecting perhaps to the feminine. Talking about religion, Cancer represents feminine energy, so reconnecting to the ancient wisdom of the feminine, perhaps, what might be going on with this as well, bringing the feminine back into the conversation and redefining it as as it was truly meant to be written, not having parts taken out about the divine feminine of these religions. So that is part of it. And then Saturn, as I discussed, rules everything that has been going on this month between Capricorn and Aquarius. So that is why this is a big activation month of tearing down and building up. And then Pluto is in Aquarius, right? Part of this divine mini grand trine. And Pluto rules Scorpio. Scorpio is about bringing those truths to light. It's about truth, intimacy, transformation, death and rebirth, and financial systems, shared resources, taxes, all of those things, central banking, all of represents all of the shared money, whether that's with spouses or whatever, or government institutions, things like that. So these are all the things that are being rebirthed, reborn right now with all of this, and moving with Neptune moving into Aries. Like, this is where it's going to stay for the next 14 years. Like this energy moving forward into Aries at the 0 point, at the starting point of the zodiac. And, in February, Saturn and Neptune are going to be conjunct there. And that is a huge deal. We'll get into that more later, but this is really new beginning energy. And this is where this, at the 29th degree of Pisces, that is where we were tearing down. And at the 0 degree of Aries, that is where we are building up. And then if I just talk about, not looking at what ChatGPT said, but just looking at Neptune and Aries. Neptune is, our spirituality and everything, but it is also our, where we dream, where we it's like our vision board energy, like what we want for the future. So this is really seeding. This is really, with Neptune entering into Aries first, it is really giving us the opportunity to dream what we want to see for the world, as well as what we want to see for ourselves into existence. And this is the seeding point. This is where everything is going to be born from, our new version of ourselves, as well as for the collective. So this is the energy point that we really need to focus on. This is where the new seeds are being built. This is where the new us is emerging. So when I get to the individual readings, this is the point that I'm going to focus on. This video is long enough. I don't think I'm going to read the Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto Sabian symbols. I might do a separate video for that. If you have made it this far, thank you so much for making it this far. That was the Sabian symbol for one of them, but that'll add a lot of time on to this video. So I hope you have enjoyed this. I'm sorry it's so long, but there is so much going on this month that I couldn't not go over any of those. Your individual videos will hopefully be a bit shorter than this. Otherwise, it's going to take me forever to get them out. But if you could give me a like, subscribe, interact some way, a comment, interact some way with this, how you feel about the messaging and how I'm interpreting the astrology. I know not everybody is diving as deep into this as I am, but I hope you have enjoyed it. And I will talk to you, and see you in the rising sign, see you in the by sign videos, and I'll also see you next month.